Hello and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is James.
And my name is Jo. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for joining us on this wonderful Tuesday morning. It's actually Tuesday afternoon for me by the miracles of the internet, we hope. I'm actually joining us from the Middle East today. So it's early afternoon for me, but it's early morning for Jo. We've had a couple of technical glitches, so that's probably why we're a minute or so late. That's me trying to get my Wi-Fi connection to work, having found out that voice over IP is not permitted in the UAE and very many apps. So we may struggle here, in which case if I disappear, I probably won't be coming back and it'll be all down to Jo. But anyway, thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about how to attract clients and also how to attract candidates. We've got a few things we want to share with you, so please listen in. Make some notes. Hopefully we can help you make a difference in your business. That's what we plan to do. And if at any time you think we can help you, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us here at iIntro. But Jo, where should we start today?
So there's 3 points that we're going to cover today. The first one is people have asked us to talk about USPs. So if I am going to attract candidates and clients, how can I make myself stand out? I think this is the age-old question, isn't it? For all recruiters, how can we stop ourselves from sounding the same? The second one is, how do I actually engage candidates and clients? So what tips or hints do we have as far as engaging and attraction of good candidates and clients? And then the third one, which I really like, is talking about BD strategy. So talking about how do we actually create a strategy for business development when, I mean, quite frankly, it's the last thing to get done. And normally the thing that gets scratched off the day plan because, you know, something's erupted on your desk. So those are the 3 things that we're going to cover. Good. And so we've been asked, first of all, to talk about USPs. So what do we think of USPs, James?
Well, normally they're just SPs rather than USPs. And for those of you listening to our broadcast last week when we actually had Chris Hickey, MD of Mercury Hampton, talk about his successes on pitching, hopefully you would have picked up that he believes he has some very strong USPs and has brought those into the mix. But the challenge that Jo and I face when we speak to people, and we train literally thousands of recruiters, helping them transition from being transactional contingent recruiters into offering a differentiated service on a consultative retained basis. And we always ask the question, what are your USPs? And Jo, what are the most common answers that we get when we ask audiences this? And maybe if you're listening, just jot down 3 while we reel out a few that we normally get. Go on, Jo, give us a couple of as well.
Specialists, multiple years experience. We work niche vertical markets. We know your world. We've got an enormous database. We proactively source the top talent from within the marketplace. Hopefully, we could have played bingo here, James, couldn't we?
We could have actually, yeah.
And we could have called them out.
Always wanted to be a bingo caller. How about for another life, though? And that's the strange thing, Jo. When we read those out, we hear them. And what we always say to people is, listen, they're not bad things, you know, but they should be your minimum entry point, really. The reality is nowadays, most people are specialist or niche. Of course, you've probably got a big database, but it's not just about a database search, particularly if you're looking for the best person to do the job. The fact that you've got so many years experience, think about it for a moment from a client perspective. When you walk in and say these things that you think are so great, and they think, "Oh my God, another recruiter," you know, reeling out the same old platitudes, how they're the specialist in the markets and they know everybody we need, etc., etc. There's nothing differentiated in that, and that's why they're not USPs. They're just SPs. They are sales points. And as I say, and we also say to people, don't not say them, but you need to add something else. You need to find something else to help the client make a decision to want to work with you. Not just because they have to work with you, because in reality they don't, but they want to work with you because what you say and what you do is very different from anybody else. So you've got to find your own USP. So how can we help them, Jo?
So I think the first thing that we need to look at is the phrase USP. As you've just said, we may as well get rid of the U because we're not all the same, but we all sound the same. So imagine that your client is receiving 5 agency calls a day. You're all going to say the same thing. The only thing that client therefore has to differentiate you on is cost. So it's our fault that the client is cost centric because we're not giving them anything else to go by. So we get rid of the U because none of them are unique. The next thing we need to do is to get rid of the S because this has got nothing to do with what we want to sell and everything to do with what that client wants to buy. So let's start thinking about buying points or pain points. Let's go a bit further. So think about what problems do you solve? And I think that's a really key point, isn't it, James? Change your perspective. Don't think about this as what do we want to sell. Now start thinking about what does the client want to buy? What do they want and what do they need from a recruitment provider?
Yeah. Joe, I'm going to go off that tangent here because I'm reading a book at the moment and I'm fascinated by it because it's called The Challenger Sale.
Nice.
And it talks about the different types of salespeople out there. I can't remember who wrote it. I'm halfway through it, so I'm going to be spouting myself. I probably haven't got the full fact. But The Challenger Sale talks about how the best salespeople in complex selling solutions. So we're talking about selling retained recruitment, which is a complex solution. It's not a transaction. The most successful people are the people who challenge the client. People who are not afraid to sort of push the envelope, so to speak, to go a little bit further. And here's the interesting thing: in the Challenger Sale, there are actually 5 types of salespeople, and this is measured research. This is a valid piece of research, Joe. And actually, the foreword to this book is written by Professor Neil Rackham, who we all know from Spin Selling days, and he raves about this, by the way. But the Challenger Sale says the Challenger salesperson is the individual who will push the client. And here's the thing: the least successful salesperson, believe it or not, is the relationship builder. And you know how we always talk about, you've got to build a relationship, and it's actually it's sort of counterintuitive, but the relationship will come if you've actually built the relationship to go and challenge what they're doing. So you're selling, identifying the solution with that client to help them get there. Yeah, and there are 3 other categories in between there that in terms of differentiating success. But the challengers are the people who, over the last 10 years, are the people who've made a difference in organizations, the people who outperform everybody else. So put yourself into that challenger mindset. You don't need to read the book. I'm not selling it, but actually the mindset of this book, because we talk a lot about mindset, Joe, is all about offering a solution. So think about what you can do and think about what you say that makes you stand out, I think is one of the key things.
Yeah.
Look, tangent over.
No, it's brilliant. I think the more recommendations we can have, the merrier, really. Matthew Dixon, that was the guy. I knew it was Matthew something, but I was getting him mixed up with the guy who wrote Bounce. But yeah, Challenger Sale, Matthew Dixon. It's absolutely brilliant. And I think, we have a bit of a challenge ourselves with the word challenge. Are we here to challenge our clients? Well, yes, we are. I think you've got 2 types of recruiter. You've got the waiter recruiter. Hello, Mr. O'Brien, can I take your order? And then they take your order, no questions asked, off they go back to the kitchen. And then you've got the doctor, haven't you, or the consultant, who, when you sit down and say my leg hurts, they don't just offer you a range of pills from out of a drawer. They challenge it. They ask questions because they want to consult and advise and diagnose. And the only way you can advise the best course of action for anybody is by asking questions and trying to get to the root of the problem. Now, I think, from a USP point of view, how can you then start thinking about that? My advice to anybody would be, have a word with your existing clients, speak to them, ask them what challenges they have with recruitment, not just with you. Ask them what challenges they have with recruitment, with attraction, recruitment, selection, onboarding, attrition. And then start thinking about, okay, if this is this list of problems that clients have, what is it that we do as an organization that will make the pain of that problem go away? And then you can start to create these pivot points that we talk a lot about here, don't we, James? These 3 pivot points. So would you like to share our 3 pivot points with people? This might get them going.
Yeah, it will do, and it won't be any surprise to people in terms of what they are, because the first 2, I'm going to put them in position 1 and 3 in terms of what we normally talk about. The first 2 are time and money. Everybody needs to say, okay, how can I save time? How can I save money? And the number 3 thing, or it's actually number 2, and I think, are people. So we say time, people, and money. So how can you help that organization reduce the time they're wasting? Yeah, where are they wasting time? What can you do to mitigate the time that they're wasting? And think about this for a moment. Where those areas might be? Well, maybe it's on interviewing. Maybe they're interviewing the wrong people in the first place. How many times? I mean, Joe, we heard one story when we were training somebody. It said there's a new client for us, and he said he'd approached a prospect, and the prospect said, "I've seen 39 people. 39 people I've interviewed, and you know what? I think I'll know the right person when I see them." Well, I'd actually challenge that person, say, no, you won't, because in 39 people, you obviously can't identify. You need a different type of help. Again, stuff that we can talk about. So think about the time that people are wasting. How much time is wasted on new employees who are onboarded, in these organizations who are very professional, look after it, yet they leave within the first 6 to 9 months? We find that 25 to 30% of people leave new employers within the first 12 months. And a piece of research in the US, by Leadership IQ, I've forgotten the name there, Leadership IQ says that 46% of new employees fail in the first 18 months. So there's a lot of time being wasted there that you can give back to clients, and time is money. And you can evaluate with the clients. You can ask them questions. How much time do you spend on your interview process? How long does it take you to screen a CV? How many people screen it? How many people review it? Yeah. How much time does it take to actually go to the printer and pick up the CV that you printed out and the person you're meeting up with? How many people interview? How much time is spent on interviewing, reviewing, etc.? It all adds up. And a corporate rate of £50 to £100 an hour, let's say, per person, that soon mounts up. So you can help the client with the time saving. Obviously, the money element comes too. People, a critical one. What do we mean by, solving the problem of people? Well, ask the question, why are you recruiting? Is it a rehire of somebody you previously hired who actually didn't work out? Yeah, how can you look to improve that? So again, we talk to clients about identifying with them, undertaking something called a recruitment process audit to identify what their current retention rates of new employees are. And that's when we find out that statistic that I just mentioned, Joe, that 70 to 80% retention, which feels great, but that 20 to 30% attrition, which actually isn't very good at all. And if you can identify ways to improve that, then you're starting to talk things. And here at iIntro, we've actually been measuring these statistics for over 10 years now, and 96% of the people that we help our clients place are still in that post 1 year later. That's got a huge value add. That's a differentiator in the marketplace. And so the third one comes down to money. And the problem is when you say to people, I can save you money, everybody hears you say, I can reduce my fees. Now, listen, there's always somebody who can charge lower fees, but what if I could show you that by charging higher fees, I can actually save you money? Yeah, not just because I'm charging a higher fee, but because the higher value add service I'll deliver for you will actually save you money in the medium to long term. Yeah, and that's what we're looking to do with clients. So you've got to find your differentiation. And what I said, Joe, we call them pivot points to sort of guide people through that particular piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully that's given you a little bit of inspiration to have a think about, when you're out there and you're talking to your clients, not what are you saying, but what is it that your clients are hearing? Maybe put some new pivot points together. Think about not USPs now, or KSPs, even key selling points. Start thinking about KBPs, or key buying points, or key pain points. And then, test drive them on some of your existing clients, which I suppose brings us nicely. I'm going to skip actually to the third point that we were asked to discuss today by the viewers, which is business development strategy. Because actually, part of the very first thing that we ever do with anyone who joins the iIntro family or goes through a 30-day boot camps, it's a 30-day training program, lots of live classroom sessions, lots of recorded information, lots of templates and pro formas to take back to your desk. But the very, very first session that we do is called the fundamentals, and it's all about planning and positioning. So you have to be able to plan your business development, and then you have to position yourself. So we've just discussed positioning. Position yourself out in the market. What are your key differentiators? What are your pivot points? But then you've got a plan, because actually you can have the best, pain points. You can have the best pivot points on the planet. But if nobody knows that you're there, and we haven't got a really good strategy for business development, then it's like shouting on mute. No one's going to be able to hear you. So I suppose the 2 points, how do we engage candidates and clients? How do we develop a business development strategy? They're synonymous with each other. There is one massive word, I think, well, 2 words really, planning and consistency. When we talk about business development strategy, I suppose it's the least sexy part of what we do, but the more you have a really good plan. We talk a lot about a Dream 100, so 100 companies that you want to target over a period of time. But then you have to be consistent, because not everybody, in fact, only a very small percentage of people, of your target clients, will convert in a first outreach, a first conversation. So we then start talking about what we call a touch system. So wearing people down over a period of time, but in a really nice way, which is consistency and adding value. And there's a number of streams that we always talk to people about as well, because it's multifaceted. It's not like the olden days when James was recruiting, way before I was born, and you just picked up the phone and actually went to meet somebody. Now we have all of this. Look at us today. James is in Abu Dhabi. I'm in the frozen north wastelands of Derbyshire, and we're here. But actually, sometimes I think technology gets in our way because we rely on it too much. We think, I'll stick a couple of TikToks on and I'll bring in a load of business. But actually, you've got to use multiple platforms, multiple times with multiple people to creating that consistent approach, almost like a drip effect, isn't it, James? So a drip effect into that target 100. So think about the people you're targeting, the platform that you're using, or the platforms that you're using, and then think about those points, those points of opportunity with people. So how can you create points of pleasure and points of pain with people in your marketing and your sales that helps to get people aware of you, aware of the fact that they like you, aware of the fact that they probably need you, and aware of how to actually contact you.
I think it's all about persistence, Joe. And again, I hear too many people sort of give up too soon and just jump onto something else, and they don't realize that, in terms of drip feed marketing, is about being consistent and persistent in the right place all the time. And if you're relentless in actually building your business, and obviously, we're targeting people today listening. We hope they're recruitment business owners, they're people who are looking at how can you face challenges. And when we talk about Dream 100 strategy, which is taken from a guy called Chet Holmes, that's sort of we follow different people's models. People say to me, well, does that mean it doesn't work if there's 101 or 99? Well, no, of course not. We're just generalizing here. But Dream 100 means you've got some focus, which means that you can focus in on your clients and actually have a persistent and consistent approach to make sure you stay in touch with them on a regular basis. Because if you get into the world of retained and exclusive recruitment, which we sincerely hope you will, because that's our mantra, that's where we like to operate in, you think about it, how many clients do you actually need at any one time? You don't need 100, because you couldn't be able to service 100 clients. Most experienced and seasoned, retained recruitment consultants, people who actually work on those roles, you're working on 1, maybe 2 per month. Now, of course, there's going to be some months when there's 3 or 4, but when you average it out over a year, if you're working on decent fees to earn 200-300k of revenue, of course, there's people who do 400-500k, nothing to do with that. But how many fees do you need? A dozen fees at 15 to 20k? What's that work out? Works out to 250 to 300,000 pounds worth of fees. Yet most people are still scrapping around the 100 to 150 mark. Well, this is about moving the dial on this one, going a little bit further, giving yourself them. And to do that, you've got to have a relentless strategy that goes after those relationships, to those contacts. And this is all the pre-sale. Last week we were talking about pitching. Well, that only comes if you've actually done the hard work on the BD strategy to say, we're going after those people. You've got to go in there and actually have something that says, this is my message. And as you said, Joe, pain and pleasure. Actually, identifying the problem, but actually showing the solution as well. I think that's what you can do. And it's just leaving enough. You just got to do enough of a tease in there, don't you? To gain their interest in that thing. So, okay, I want to talk to you people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love Louisa's comment in the comments as well. So persistence overcomes resistance.
Oh, I like that one as well.
100%. That's fantastic. Yeah. It's so true. The thing is, as recruiters, dare I say it? Yes, I'm a typical entertainer. So I don't matter what psychometric test you look at. The typical kind of, I'm very inconsistent with my consistency. And as a recruiter, I could have been an awful lot better at times if I'd have been more consistent, if I'd have had my Dream 100. Like you said, you can have less than 100, you can have more. Any more than 100, you'll never get around them enough times as you do to convert them over a period of time. I mean, sales statistics say somewhere between 2 to 6 separate conversations, somewhere between 15 to 30 separate touches to go from touch to transaction. Another book that I highly recommend. So actually, what are you going to do? What's your 30-day marketing strategy? What's your 90-day marketing strategy? And I think the thing that people could do, which might help them after today, is to think about having 3 separate departments when it comes to sales. And we use that as kind of like the umbrella term. So marketing is about creating awareness and top-level engagement for you and your services and your products. So people need to learn to know you, like you, and trust you, so that they'll come in to the second part. So marketing is your first part. What are you going to do from a marketing point of view? So this is that one-to-many approach. It's going to get you out there and build brand and product and service awareness. And then the second one is sales. Sales is more of a one-to-one. It's a bespoke approach. So who are you going to approach on a one-to-one basis from a sales point of view? So start thinking about existing clients, lapsed clients, and then target clients that you want to go after. So marketing and then sales. And then the final one, I think, is social media. So as much as the 3 sort of blend into each other as well, thinking about those 3 categories and putting a nice 30-day sprint plan together for each of those. What are you going to do to who, when, and how, I think is really key. And the how, I think, is more important than anything. Someone said to me the other day, in fact, the two phrases that were whirring around my head at 6 o'clock this morning when I thought, I've got to get these out of my mouth when we do this session this morning. So one of them was, someone said to me, how do I find the time to do business development? And I gave that awful kind of cliched one-liner answer, which was, you don't find the time, you've got to make the time, because you're never going to find time to do business development. My dog's going to go a bit mental in the background, maybe. No. You're never going to be able to find the time to do business development. It just doesn't happen. So make time, be disciplined, put some time in your diary every day or every week to do certain marketing, sales and social media activities to your Dream 100. And then somebody else said to me this week as well, I've got so many jobs on that I don't need to do business development. And then we went through, you know what I'm going to say now, don't you? James is like, let me say it instead. Yeah. And I said, okay, fine. You've got lots of jobs to work on. This is a contingent recruiter that's currently filling 1 in 3 jobs. You don't have time to, you don't have the time to not do business development at this point. Just because you've got a desk full of jobs, it doesn't mean that is money in your bank account, does it, James? It's a false economy. Having a desk full of jobs is a false economy, unless it's a desk full of exclusive, retained, nailed down, high fee, controlled clients, massive, amazing relationships. If it's that, all power to you. If it isn't, you might want to think about getting rid of some of the stuff on your desk first.
Yeah, it's that peak and trough mentality. You know, filling your boots when times are good, which it is now out there in the market. Everybody that we speak to is really, really busy, but that doesn't mean you can give up on your business development strategy. It doesn't mean you can't continue to stay in touch with people, because I get, you know, we've been through recessions, Joe, and other times we've come out of other tough times. We're coming out of a tough time now and everything's good. And I always remember, in the tough times, it's about whether you stay in contact with your prospects and your clients. Because if you stay in contact in the tough times, they'll come back to you in the good times. Now we're in the good times, and actually that's something we're probably going to have to sort of part this until next week a little bit, Joe. Talking about how can help the candidate attraction side of things. Probably think we do that. But actually, what can you do? Get out there in the market. Clients know that it's hard to attract clients. So actually, they're almost sort of jumping on recruiters, say, hey, what can you find for me? And so it seems easy to get jobs on at the moment. I don't mean easy, so no need to comment on that one particularly, but it's not as difficult as it used to be to get vacancies, but to fill vacancies, well, that's another matter. So next week we're going to be talking about some key attributes that we put together to help people go out there and attract candidates. How can you pull those candidates into your business and actually make them available to your clients for the roles that you work on? That's another thing. So you'll just trail that one for next week. We'll be talking more about candidate attraction there. One of my favorite little phrases is, candidates are just clients in disguise. And by the way, clients are just candidates in disguise as well. We all know that one. So we'll get through those pieces also. I'm just trying to catch up with Louise's little catchphrases, just trying to find my own ones that are probably not as good as hers. What are you going to say, Joe?
I said, we need to start thinking about some good catchphrases to have on a sort of like a weekly basis. We have had one this week though, James, and I used your hairdresser thing, and we captioned one yesterday, didn't we? So good recruitment isn't cheap, and cheap recruitment isn't good. I think that's key when it comes to positioning yourselves. Don't be afraid to be expensive, and don't worry about whether you're above industry standard. Please get up every morning in order to be above industry standard. You're special, but get that out to your clients, and don't be afraid to state your fee with confidence, because if you're solving problems and you're looking different, then clients you pay for what you get in this world. Buy cheap, buy twice, I think is a
Joe,
new one that comes to mind.
Another little anecdote that Chris Hickey didn't bring up last week, but it's one that I got from him as well. So I'm just seeing another note from Louise. So Chris Hickey, one of the little conversations he'd had with a client at the start of this year was a client had come to him and asking him to sort of recruit multiple roles for him. He said, I'm looking for 6 people, Chris. Should let Chris tell his story last week, but he didn't. Maybe he was too modest. But anyway, I'll tell his story for him. But he said, I've got 6 roles, Chris, that I'd like you to help with me. And we normally work with you at a percentage, and I won't declare what the percentage was. But with 6 roles, Chris, and you could sort of sense what was coming, he was looking for a discount. But actually, this was a very switched on client. He actually said, I want to pay you an extra 25%, not 25%, 25% extra, because I need you focused on this, because we all know how difficult it is to get those candidates out there in the marketplace at the moment. So I want you and your team focused on finding me these people. So I want to get to the top of the queue. Now, that's a very switched on client. Most people don't think that. They're all thinking about how can they save on their budgets and actually sort of squeeze the recruiter, and actually push it down, push the fee down. You can't win that battle. You've got to add value back into your process. Going back to the things we were talking about earlier, having something that differentiates you in the marketplace. Positioning yourself in a different way, positioning yourself as a solution provider, but knowing what that solution is. You've got to have something. You can't just say, I've got a solution for you. You've got to be able to demonstrate what that is. Otherwise, you're just another talking mouth, really, who's just saying, "Oh yes, I'm really, really good. I'm really good at this. Trust me, I can get this person for you, etc., etc." You've got to be able to demonstrate what it is that you do differently, and that's sort of what we want to do. But anyway, coming back to the BD strategy, yeah, it's going through those particular points to say, don't give up. You know, I've heard people say, "Oh, I sent out a mail shot last week and I didn't get any responses from it." Well, are you surprised? Do you respond? How many inbox emails do you get from people that you don't respond to? But what you do get is if you're consistent and persistent with it. Also, hang on, this person keeps emailing me at 4:20 on a Thursday.
Yeah,
maybe they've got something to say.
Yeah. And you know what? I think if sorry, James, if anyone doubts that, clients don't just magically appear from outer space. Look at some of the clients that you brought on recently. And look at the chain of events that created that client conversion. There is always a chain of events. There were reactions and proactive actions and then reactions. So there was always a chain of events. Silence isn't rejection. Silence isn't rejection. It might just mean you need 1 or 2 or 3 more touch points other than that.
Yeah, I think that is a great point, Joe. Do you go back out there and do your own audit of how you actually brought on board the last client? How many touch points did it take you before they actually said yes to you? How many days, weeks, months, years did it take to sort of get that client to buy from you? And that shows you, and the best people, they just don't give up. They keep going. Now, sometimes you will hit a brick wall. Yeah, you'll hit a brick wall. So you've got to be on our PSL. Well, maybe you don't want to be on the PSL because that's just that's a story for another day. But maybe somebody just doesn't like you. Yeah, there are some organisations where they just, you come up against someone. I came up against somebody once who used to be my former finance director. Guess what? We didn't like each other. There was no point trying to push in. I was never going to get through to that company. So sometimes you've got to say, okay, well, that's the end for now. But that finance director eventually moved on. Albeit 3 years later, you go back again, but you just have to park it sometimes. But actually, if you park one, coming back to the Dream 100, well, push one out, bring one in. Mm-hmm. Start to build that relationship with them. Keep going, be persistent, be relentless. That's the motto for today. Don't give up. Yeah, and actually,
never give up, never back down. We should. We should start doing, I think, catchphrases from movies, and then people can try and see if they could win a prize if they get it right. Never give up, never back down. But also, I think we talk about being relentless and consistent, which I love. But also, this is a two-way assessment. So when we talk about having a Dream 100, this isn't 100 people to sell to. It's 100 people to start a conversation with, so that you can decide if you want to work with them as well, because you have 9 hours in a day. We are the purveyors of time. You can get very, very smart in this job and make a lot of money in a shorter period of time by just polishing everything that you do and becoming more and more efficient. But at the end of the day, you are a purveyor of time, and there's only so many hours in the day. So you have to choose your clients as much as they're choosing you. So don't see these now as sales calls. I don't like the word sales. It's two-dimensional. Like you said, James, not only is this it's a conceptual sale, it's a very complex sale because they can't see it. We're not selling candidates. That's 10% transactional. That's something else entirely. We are suggesting that the complexity of what we're doing is massive. We're going to talk a bit more about that next week as well. So it is hard, but it's also, just because someone says yes to you, you don't have to work that job. You make a decision. This is your desk and your business, and you make that decision as well. No is a complete sentence.
Yeah. As we all say, Joe, if you've got bad clients, look in the mirror.
No.
Look at hey. By the way, so
you staged that, didn't you?
I did actually. Well, wait for you just set me up for it. Lovely there at the end. So listen, we hope you've enjoyed us on today's journey where we've been exploring a little bit about business development strategy. If you think we can help you, please do get in touch with us. There's a link there on the screen. We'd love to sort of tell you a bit more about what we do and how we can help you do it. Please tune in next week. We'll be talking a bit more about candidate attraction. Sorry to get to as much as we'd hoped to today. We probably went off on a bit of a tangent, but I hope you enjoyed spending some time with us. We enjoyed you interacting with us as well. So thank you very much, and it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.